Look, I promise the next video will be on Fallout. I just want to get this out of the way, because it's an important subject and you might get a laugh out of it. Anyway, PirateSoftware, I don't need to introduce you to this. You already know, he is a guy who 10 to 11 months ago started shit-talking the Stop Killing Games initiative. It's an initiative that you should sign, link in the description, that seeks to curb stomp the artificial scarcity caused by publishers shutting down games for no reason other than the fact that they don't want to support it anymore, by pushing for the creation of end-of-life plans, such as by, for example, allowing people to host their own servers or at least have the game not be dependent on a fucking server-side check that exists because fuck you, that's why. PirateSoftware, aka Thor, aka Malding, Figtree, Malding Figtree, has been lying about this for ages over and over and over and over again because he can't admit he's wrong and because he has a financial incentive in games not being preserved and their survival being at the whims of some jackass in a suit. He knows he's wrong. Every single time he tries to portray Stop Killing Games, he always shows evidence that is very, very carefully selected and that conveniently ignores what is one line below whatever he highlights, doing things such as arguing that this initiative would force game devs to keep servers alive and maintain them for all time, despite the fact that the initiative explicitly says this is not the case. Like, word for fucking word, the exact opposite of what he claims the initiative is about. It's fucking insane, but you know. It's no surprise that the guy who worked at Blizzard, because he worked at Blizzard, he wants you to know he worked at Blizzard, he was a game developer at Blizzard. It's no surprise that a who comes from a cesspool like this is against basic consumer rights. Don't point this out to him, however, because he'll get banned from the chat like he brags to having done so to thousands and thousands of people, and might false DMCA your video game on Steam for things he doesn't know are in there or not. I'll get back to Mr. Cybersecurity in a second. I want to talk about this initiative. Ross from Accursed Farms, an OG on YouTube and the guy who started all this, said that today, July 2nd, the time you're watching this video, is a day dedicating to sharing Stop Killing Games to get as much traction as possible and reach the 1 million signatures before the deadline of July 31st. If you're a citizen from a country within the European Union or the United Kingdom, for one, get over here, I'll give you a hug, don't worry, I feel you. You should open the first link in the description and in the pinned comment to sign this. If you're in the UK, it's the second link. This initiative, to reiterate and explain a bit further from what I said before, if successful, would lead to the creation of laws by European governments to make sure that games do not cease to completely function when a plug is pulled. You paid for that game, you invested in that game, if you say bought DLCs for it or microtransactions, you should at the very least have the right to still access the things that you bought. If European governments create laws around this, which is what the initiative is for, it's vague on purpose because it has to be adaptable to all European Union countries. It would help gamers across the world except maybe in China, but then again, China is China and who gives a fuck? Because the EU is a large trading bloc and developing two different versions of the same game, or hell, almost 30 different versions of the exact same game just for Europe, and then more versions for the rest of the world is simply unfeasible. Meaning that if the European Union one passes, you effectively save the ass of gamers across the planet, who have had to spend years not knowing if they'll actually still be able to use the thing they paid for the next day because it's all held together by a bunch of third-party duct tape. Let's take a good example of an already existing end-of-life plan that is in line with what Stop Killing Games pushes for. I'm gonna use multiverses as an example. It was brought to my attention that my use of multiverses was actually bad in my previous video, because I did not realize that this game had an end-of-life plan that is currently allowing people to still play it despite servers having been shut down and support being pulled entirely. Something that, according to the chum-brained, lobotomized, foot-sniffing retards in my comment sections, some of them, I'm not lobbing you in with those guys, would claim is impossible and an outright disaster for the poor publishers. Oh no, the poor fucking publishers who are talking about record revenues constantly, because that's all we hear about. Record revenues constantly, price increases, yet we're supposed to believe that they're too fucking poor to allow the basic consumer to host a fucking community server or play in an offline mode that doesn't require connection to the server infrastructure. Something that nobody, I repeat, nobody ever had an issue creating for decades and decades in gaming, and now we're supposed to believe that this is just impossible. Yet Multiverses, because it wasn't being profitable and servers shut down, created an end-of-life plan that allows players to keep playing the game. Now, I know that Multiverses comes from Warner Brothers and they're not exactly scraping by for money, but Multiverses is just one example example as to what this initiative would basically do. Now, you might be thinking, what about the indie games? Won't the indie games not have money to do such a thing? Yes, the poor old indie game developers somehow having money to fund a live service game. Not also would this not affect them either, it would also create the possibility for better practices to be employed, because pushing them to not be dependent on something that can shut down at a moment's notice effectively saves them time and money in the long term. And you know, just overall making game infrastructure not be stuck together with kindergarten glue. And before I go back to the deflated... shit, I'm sorry. Before I go back to the inflated punching bag that is PirateSoftware, I just want to address in 30 seconds a defense that an alleged game developer who has been very nice to me brought to my attention that is used as an argument against Stop Killing Games. The person who brought this to my attention is the one reasonable critic of Stop Killing Games that I have heard that has managed to not make me want to blow my brains out, and the defense is this. Software licenses can be tricky, and some critical dependencies don't give two shits about video games. Well, why are they critical dependencies then? Call me crazy, but if your game is dependent on something that doesn't give a fuck about games, then you shouldn't be making it a critical dependency in the first place. Again, no hate to this individual, but it just goes to show the sheer disconnect that is there between game developers and game consumers. Speaking of being disconnected from reality, let's get back to our favorite Malding Figtree. The guy who worked at Blizzard because he was an ex-Blizzard employee. You know, you should listen to the ex-Blizzard employee because he's an ex-Blizzard employee. He worked at Blizzard. You wouldn't know that if you watched his videos, but you should listen to him because he has experience in the scene. After all, he was a developer at Blizzard, except he wasn't, he was just a QA. His experience of working at Blizzard because he worked at Blizzard means that you should listen to him when it comes to the creation of game infrastructure, business and server-side maintenance. This is the guy who for 10 months slandered and shit-talked Ross from Accursed Farms, saying that he was actually gonna push against Stop Killing Games because it was terrible for the game industry. Don't worry guys, the furry hacker with the microphone settings is fighting against Stop Killing Games, and that's gonna go incredibly well. How's that going for you? My, would you look at that? Signatures for this initiative doubled in the last 2 weeks. So if the idea was to prevent Stop Killing Games from reaching its goal, then he failed spectacularly. But this isn't just any furry hacker who worked at Blizzard because he worked at Blizzard. No, this is Thor from PirateSoftware. And he's never wrong after all, so his intention was to actually help Stop Killing Games all along. I'm not saying that he claimed this, I'm just saying that I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to claim this, given how much he backpedals on everything he says. No, really, if you're a viewer of his and you value consistency, then you might as well just stop watching his videos because this guy can never fucking admit when he's wrong. And looking at him from the side, it seems that his ego is comparable to the stomach he got after the tub he swallowed went all the way down his throat. But ego is one thing and experience is another, and because he worked at Blizzard, you might not know that already. What really matters here is his knowledge of actual game development and game publishing and business. Doesn't matter if he's an asshole or not, what matters is his experience, right? Right, let's start with game development. Let's look at his video game. His video game that's been in early access for 7 fucking years and has been in at least a late alpha since 2017, with a GoFundMe being present for his game in 2016. Holy shit, dude, this might be a really big project with a lot of realistic lighting and ray tracing and graphics. Let's look at the game. Oh, yes, that's right. A furry Undertale knockoff has somehow taken longer to develop than it took to create Trepang Squared, a game made by 4 guys, by the way, which absolutely curb stomps almost every single AAA experience in this decade. Gee, dude, I wonder what could be taking him so long. Well, you know, he's got troubles. He's had some difficulties. Let's look at his... Oh no. Excuse me. Yeah, excuse me, sir. Can you please stab me in the eyeball? In case you don't understand why this is such a massive problem, here's an explanation on screen. Pause to read it if you want. Anyway, this, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we, and I struggle to use this term, but this is what we gamers are up against. An industry filled to the brim with money-hungry hacks who have somehow convinced themselves that they're more than slaves to the whims of fucking big corporations and consumers, who somehow convinced themselves that having a badge that says I worked at company is enough to believe them in everything they say, and defend the practices of people who do not care about you, and defend people who do not care about you. I don't give a fuck what PirateSoftware claims he supports. I really just fucking don't, because this guy is just one little roach, another little roach in the fucking nest that is the gaming industry. A place of passion and creativity that used to be restricted to nerds and somehow now fucking rolls over literally every other entertainment medium on the planet. Hijacked by corpos and wannabe corpos, which by the way, Thor, PirateSoftware, Malding, Figtree is one of them, who find some arbitrary way to justify every single bad practice that has been leading to the collapse of this fucking industry and another game crash. Microtransactions, oh okay, that's fine. They need to, the poor little hungry corporations need that extra money. DLCs, yeah, they need that extra money. You know, you not owning your fucking games, oh yeah, that's perfectly understandable because more licenses and more live service. So get used to not owning the things you fucking pay for, because corporations and developers can't be fucked to at least pretend they actually care about the things they work on. I'm sorry, I don't fucking accept this. I don't accept this being the state of the game industry. Especially not when it's coming from a hack that rivals Yandere Simulator in the incompetence in simply releasing a single fucking game. And in coding skill, by the way, all the while fucking relishing in the beautiful ad revenue and his corporate connections that he is so happy to fucking brag about. Retaining an ego larger than the average file size of a modern Call of Duty game. There are many reasons to support Stop Killing Games, and there's even more reasons to sign it. Chief among them, smacking rotten eggs in the faces of people like this that do nothing except destroy the hobby that we all love. Fuck PirateSoftware, he can work at Blizzard as much as he wants. He, and anyone parroting any single fucking argument this disingenuous hack comes up with, should get comfortable not owning a spot at the jobs they think makes them so important in the first place. Join these beautiful people who signed the initiative, save video games, and help PirateSoftware lose some weight by not watching this prick. I'll see you all in my next video where I will look over the best piece of Fallout in all of Fallout, doing a retrospective on the Lonesome Road DLC. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day, and don't forget to sign the petition, link in the description.